Back for another one. So this video, we're going to create a cloth simulation as I had shown in the video before this. So I'm going to show you guys how to do this roll up simulation. I've done this before, but I want to do another version, an updated version, since I've learned more since then, being that, I've gotten more deep into Blender. So let's get started. So with that being said, we're going to create a plane and we're going to use geometry nodes to take advantage of that. So we're going to switch this window. Oops, got all this stuff open. We're going to switch this window to geometry node editor. Press N for that. Select the plane, make a new set. Select this, press home just to zoom in. And then we're going to start off with the grid. And then we're going to set this up so that we can array this grid plane. And then we're also going to use the realize instance node so that we can also use that to simulate the cloth, or make it a cloth also, so that we can put modifiers on these instances. All right, so let's add some dimensions to this grid. So we're going to go 64 by 8. And then I'm going to go over here real quick and set this viewport up. I'm going to press 5 just to go orthographic. And then I'm just going to go here, turn off grid. I'm going to turn on wireframe. Oops, let's do that again. Turn off grid and then turn on wireframe all. And then I'm going to turn off face orientation because I have that on by default. All right, so that's set up. And then now I'm going to go here and add some subdivision. So I just want it in one direction. So I'm going to start off with 64 and then none for, or 2 for the other direction, in the Y direction. So the reason I'm doing that is because I just want this cloth to simulate in one direction. I don't want it to bend in the perpendicular direction. That's why. So it's going to constrain it by just adding subdivisions in one direction, because we want to roll it up, remember. Okay, so next thing we need to do is just set up our whole node layout. Okay, so I'm just going to expand this a little bit so we have some more space, and then let's work our way back. So we're going to start with a set material node, and then we're also going to use a set shade smooth node, so that smooths everything out. Make some more room over here, lay that out right. And then we're going to also create a realize instances. Got that there. And then we need a set position node. Put that there. And then we need a duplicate elements, just like that. And then we need a geometry to instance node. All right, so that's our basic tree right there. And then we're going to add some other things to connect up to. And then we're going to set this duplicate elements node to instance. And then we're going to create 3 math nodes. And the reason being, we're going to set these to multiply. And these are going to work in the X, Y, Z axes. So we're going to make 3 of those, copy those 3 times. And then we're going to do a combine X, Y, Z. And then I'm going to connect this one to the X, connect this one to the Y, and then connect that to the Z. So we got all those connected, okay? All right, so next thing, we're gonna take our duplicate elements node. We're gonna bring this back here, and then we're gonna take the index and connect those to the first values of each math node. So just like that, we're gonna connect those. Okay, so now that we've done that, now we've set up our node, we gotta do one more connection, and we need to connect this vector to the offset so that we can offset our duplication. All right, so now that we got this set up, we can now array our geometry. So if I add a second, so if I change this duplicate elements to 2, you can now see there's a second one, right? And then again, we added these math nodes for our X, Y, Z. So as right now, it's offset in the X, Y, Z by 0.5 in each direction. So I want to set this to 0. I'm going to set the Y to 0. And then I just want to offset the Z a little bit, just a little bit. Okay. So we'll get closer. Maybe we'll go to a side view. We'll see how far off it is. So we'll just set it off just a tad bit, right? That's good. All right, so we got that. And then next thing we're going to do is duplicate these a couple more times. All right, so let's duplicate this about 8 times starting out. So we'll start off with 8. We're going to block out our simulation. So now that we got this set up, we can move on to the next step. So this is our node setup. Okay, so again, we start off with the grid, we set the dimensions, and then we want to instance this grid, and we're going to duplicate the elements, which is the grid, and then we set up these math nodes in the XYZ coordinates, so that, and then we combine those so that we can move the grid in all directions as we instance it. And then we use the set position to offset those every time we duplicate it. And then we got a realize instance node to tell Blender, hey, these are instances, recognize these, that these are pieces of geometry. And then we have the set shade smooth node, which will smooth out our normals. And then we got the set material node so that we can add a material when we're ready. All right. All right. So we got that all set up. All right. So let's go back here and play back here with this. I'm going to zoom in, get close, and then we're going to go to our modifier stack. And now we're going to add a cloth modifier. So we're going to go to a physics tab. I'm going to hit cloth. And if I just hit cloth, you'll see that there's a modifier there now. All right, so now we're going to set up our cloth. I'm going to switch over to our cloth settings. And then I'm going to close these out so I can see all my options. And then I want to go here to collisions, turn on self collision. And I just want to lower this too. So I'm probably set that to 0.1 for now. We'll start off. All right, so we got the collision set up, and then we want to go to field weights, and we want to turn the gravity all the way off. Okay, so we don't want that on. All right, next thing that we got that set up, we can set up our force fields. Okay, so we're going to go to force field, and then we want to use a vortex. So we got the vortex. We're going to rotate that in the X 90 degrees, and then we're going to turn on, we're going to go to this fall off section. Oh, I'm going to go here to shape. I'm going to set that to point. And then I'm going to go to my fall off section, and I'm going to turn on the max here. And then I'm just going to grow it. I'm going to hold shift so that it just kind of increments to the number slowly. And I'm looking at it wrapping around this area because, again, we want this cloth to roll. Okay. And I'm going to also shift it up so that it's centered. Okay. Now my cloth is a little bit short. Now this is the benefit, is that we got this geometry node set up so that we can always go back and edit. Okay. So now I'm going to go back here, and then I'm going to make this, let's say 128, make this really long. All right. So we got that set up. So let's hit play, see if anything happens. Okay. All right. So nothing is happening. And the reason being is because we need to probably turn up the strength. So let's go back to our vortex, and we're going to turn the strength up on it. So let's go 64 and see what happens. So hit play again. All right, so now something is happening, and it's going really slow. So obviously we probably need to add some more strength. Okay. So I'm going to go 256. Hit play. All right, now something is happening, rolling together. Cool. So now we got this item actually rolling up. You see this? Might need some more frames too. Cool. So some other things that we can do now, we got this basic setup. I'm going to go 512 real quick before I move on. Let's go 512 and see what we get. Yeah, I like this. It's moving a little faster. Cool. So I'm going to add some more frames too. So let's say, let's just go 500. Let's go crazy. All right. So we got 500 frames, and we're going to do this again. So let's run this sim again. Hit play. See what we get. Cool. All right. And it's kind of falling apart. I like this right here. Okay. So we can make this look a little more dynamic too. All right. So if we say, all right, I like this. Now let's add some more detail. So let's say if I like this, let's say I want to go with something like this. Okay. So now I can go back here to my geometry node setup, and now I can add more divisions to my geometry. So it's like 128. maybe even 256, go crazy with it, right? I like that. And then also I can add some more planes or grids. Go to my center view or side view, move this up to just center it, wrap it around, and then let's play now again, see what happens. All right, so now it's going to run a little slower, okay, because we have way more geometry happening. So we gave it more subdivisions, and then we also gave it we added more planes. Also we added more grid stacks, so it's going to play a lot more slower. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause the video, let this simulate, and then I'm going to come back and then we'll go from there. Okay, but before we do that, I want to show you guys some other things before running a long sim like this. So as you can see right now, everything is pretty much perfect. Everything is aligned, right? So one thing that I could do is add some turbulence to this. So I could say force field, turbulence, and then I can add some strength to that turbulence, and we'll say, let's go 128. Let's see what happens with that. So let's try it again. We're running, it's just going to run a little bit slow, but that turbulence is going to kick in on the geometry. Okay, so now it's kind of pushing it in a lot of different directions while it's still rolling. And this is going to give us a nice pattern because we're adding turbulence to it now. So as you can see, it's not so perfect, but the thing is still rolling up. Okay. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause the video and I'm going to cache this whole simulation. So I'm going to just make this a little bit bigger for this final sim. Okay, and then we're going to move on. All right, so I'm going to pause the video. I'm going to cache this and we'll come right back. All right, so the cache has finished. Okay, let me close this second window out. All right, so let's look at it. Let's take a look at it. So let me turn these off so they're still running. It's cached out. Let's play it, see what we get. So as you can see, we have the turbulence and the vortex. So it's spinning the cloth, right? And then at the same time, the turbulence is affecting it too. So we're getting this total like spin effect here, but the turbulence is pushing some other ribbons out. So it's a pretty cool effect, and we could do a lot with this. We can create some really cool images with this look. Okay. So next thing we can do is move into our next phase, which is developing this piece of cloth further. So we can do add a solidify modifier on it. So let's add a solidify modifier like so. And we're going to offset it. So I'm going to set it to 0 so it pushes out both directions actually. So I'm going to set it to say 0.1. Let's see what that looks like. Okay. And then I'm going to turn off wireframe. Take a look. Maybe turn off cavity too. All right. So let's take a look. I like this look. Okay. Maybe I'll give it a bevel too. I'm gonna try adding a subdivision modifier too. So we're gonna subdivide it. Oh crap! Hopefully I didn't crash it. Okay, I didn't crash it. All right, so let's switch these around. No, I'm gonna leave this on top. No, I'll switch them. Let's switch them. Okay, so just want to make it a little even more smoother. And let's scrub through our timeline too. All right, so I probably need another smooth by angle node. Okay, so now I'm getting what I want. That's what I'm looking for. All right, and then I might switch the stack here. No, I'm gonna switch it back like that. Okay, and then I'm gonna make it thinner too. So let's go to solidify. Maybe 0.05 will work. Yeah, I like that. All right. So let's frame this object now. We'll start doing some look dev. Okay. So let's scrub to right about here, maybe something like that. All right. And then we're going to set up our camera. We already got the camera. We're going to go to our top view, hold it back, and then look through our camera, split the view. Maybe I'll do something a little different this time. Format it by 1080 by 1920. Get something tall this time. And then squeeze this in. I'm gonna hide this toolbar. Tool settings. Squeeze it in further. Just frame it so we got enough a lot of real estate. And then I'm gonna scroll through, turn this off, go back to my camera, set this up now. Then I want to set that to 120 today. We'll shift it backwards. Okay. And then this is what else I got to do. So I want to be able to manipulate the object. I want to be able to rotate it around. I don't want to mess with the original, which is because I might have to cache it again, right? And I have these two hidden elements, which is my force field, right? I don't want to move them. I don't want to move things around because I'll mess up everything. Because let's say I have to recache everything, then everything is moved around. So I want to keep this stuff here where it is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go here, clean this out. And then I'm going to put this in a collection. And then I'm going to call this, I don't know, source simulation. Let's just call it that. All right. And then we'll drop it here. And then I'll take these elements, put them in here too, just for now. And then I'll just do a collection instance now. Okay. So I could say collection instance and then source simulation. Now I got a collection instance of it. And then I can turn off this here. I don't need that. I don't need that. I don't need that. Now I got a collection instance of it. And I can freely rotate it, scale it, and do what I need to do with it. Okay, so that's the reason for that. And so when I do my materials, I will go back here to this plane, and I'll just add my material on here. So matter of fact, I'll just throw a material on there right now. So we're set up. Okay, so I got my material, and then it's, you know, propagating that out to the collection instance. All right. All right, so let's go to our camera shot. So let's start setting up this camera shot we got here. And then let's see, how can we frame this? I want to do something close, maybe. I'm going to push it in. And then we're going to start just messing with this. So I can kind of rotate it around however I want, and it still animates, right? Now I can just start positioning this and find something that looks cool. Maybe scale it up too. Find something that works, right? All right, so I don't like that. That's not working. Okay. Maybe rotate it some more. What's the other side look like if we did that? Maybe do something more dynamic. Rotate it in the Y. Let's see. Yeah, I like this. Okay. So let's start with that, and then we'll throw a light in. Let's scrub through our timeline too, see what we get from that. Yeah, that's nice. Yeah. All right, so let's do some lighting now. So we'll start the render engine. And then I'm going to go here to my render settings. Turn on motion blur just so it's there. Let's see, go to transparent or film. Turn off the transparent, and then I'm going to add my first light. Move it over. Oops, where's my light? Oh, that's why it's hidden. Move it over there. There we go. Then move it here. Rotate it 90 degrees. Scale it up. And then we can start playing with our settings. Say 64. And then I'm going to make a cube empty so I can create a target. Select the light. Go to my constraints. Over here, add constraint. track to, and then I want to track it to the cube or the empty. All right, so let's put this in the light collection. And then now I got a target. So anywhere I move it, it's going to look at the target. All right. So let's do some look dev, light this object. I want to kind of come in from behind, something like this. Add some more power. Let's try 128. Let's try lighting from this direction instead. Really trying to pick up on the shadows. I like that. But if we go higher over the top, this is nice. Push it backwards. I like that look. This is a very nice look. Okay, scrub through it. That's cool. Yep. All right. So I could probably put a light there, and then maybe I can add in a, I'm going to do a background. Let's see what we get if we try a background too. I like really high contrast stuff lately. So I'm going to go here, my world. I'm just going to turn this background white. And then the background is not going to affect the object. So I'm going to go here to ray visibility. And I'm going to turn off the diffuse. And then turn off glossy. Transmission I'll leave on. And then volume scatter I'll turn off. Okay. So I like this whole look. I'm going to see what we get if you just play with it a little bit more. All right. Pull it this direction. Maybe. I like the high contrast. Okay. So I like this look. It's very simple. So simple. I'm going to see what happens if I just add in a plane too. So I'm going to scale up this plane. Just, it's a bounce. I'm making a bounce card. I'm make a big bounce card just to bounce some light back into the shot. So we're going to just shift it upward a little bit. And let's just turn it on and off. Put it in the light here. And let's turn it on and off. All right. I'm going to leave it off for now. I'm going with some deep contrast. I mean, this is basically black. I like this look. I think it's cool. Okay. So now, next thing I'm going to show you is materials. So we may do some more editing to the lighting once we get the materials going, but this is a good start in my opinion. So I'm going to go to shader, or I'm going to go to geometry nodes again. And then I'm going to go here to our original sim cloth here. And I'm going to go to my modifier stack, select geometry node. And then we got to just set the material. So that's why we put that node there. So now we're using the material. All right. So if we go back to our shader editor, I'm going to just pin this just in case I select something else and then it disappears. I don't want that happening. So I'm just pinning it. Okay. So I'm going to show some cool tricks if I remember this right. So I'm going to go ramp and then plug this in. Right. And then I'm going to use some high contrast colors to start off with, just so that I know what I'm selecting or what I know what I'm doing. So I'm going to set that to red, and then we're going to set another to green or blue. So let's try green. I'll just set it to green. Actually blue, because it's a better contrast. So we'll set this one to blue. All right. So we got that set. And then what I can do is take this like so, and then I'm going to set this to object. Nope. Okay. So I'm going to play with this a little bit because I can't remember. So there's a node you can plug up to get a certain gradient throughout your whole cloth sim. So that's what I'm just trying to figure out here. So we're just going to cycle through. Okay, was it generated? Okay, so let's look at that. So if I take generated and I plug this here, that's not going to work. Let's get rid of this, and then we're going to plug it like that. And then take this, move it there. And then I could probably rotate this maybe 90 degrees. So we'll rotate that. Rotate that. Okay. And then I'm going to try some I know there's an info node I can use probably too. So we'll try object info. Try plugging this up and seeing what we get. So what I'll do sometimes when I'm experimenting, I will take these nodes and just plug them up just to see what happens. I think I'll get something with this random one. Nope, wrong. There was one where I got a different look through one of these info nodes. And I think there's a geometry one too. Yeah, this one. So if I take this one and then plug it here, yeah. So I can get a multiple colors through this node, right? And if I want more control over it, I could say constant, right? And then some are blue, some are red, right? Like let's say if I wanted to do red, white, and blue. So I can add another, right? And I'll put it like that. And then change this to white. Let's see, saturation. Gone like that. Okay, so now red, white, and blue, and put this 0.8. Don't want to go to 1. So I got something red, white, and blue, right? So I can do that. So matter of fact, since we're around the elections, let's go with that. So we'll set this here to 0.33, and then this to 0.66, like that. All right, so we're gonna go red, white, and blue. Let's just go with this since we're near the elections. So we'll go here like that. And then now I'm going to add a texture. So I'm just going to go in here, my library, and then I'm going to add a texture. So I'm going to go image, or we're going to add a bump node first, and then image. And then I'm going to go in, you probably can't see this part. I'm just finding a fabric in my own personal texture library. So I'm just going to my textures, and I'm currently finding a texture for the fabric. So I'm going to use, let's see, which one should we use? All right, so I'm just going to select this one real quick just so we can keep it moving. It's kind of a polyester texture I found a long time ago. I'm going to plug that up into the height, and then plug this into the normal. I'm going to generate the texture by pressing Control T with Node Wrangler. And then now we need to analyze why it's not working. So I'm going to set this to non-color and then generate it like that. And then now we got a texture. Okay, so now we just need to fix the tiling on it. I'm going to go 4x4x4. As you can see, we got some nice high frequency detail. So we'll go back to our camera. And then I want to give it like a metallic look. So I'm going to add metallic to it. I'm going to turn the roughness down to like 0.3. Okay. And as you can see, we got this really, really nice texture happening on our fabric now. So now we need to just play with some lighting. All right. So let's move on to editing the lighting. And I'm going to just mess with this distance a little bit. The distance might be a little too crazy on this fabric. All right. Got that there. Okay, so let's go back, take a look at our lighting. Maybe we just need to brighten it, but the shadow is a little bit too harsh now that I'm seeing it, now that we got our fabric set up. So I'm going to go to my, see, this, what do we need to change? We need to change this back to 3D. And then I'm going to select my light over here. Select the area light, and then we're going to just increase the brightness again too. All right, so we got some more light. And then I also want to take a look at that bounce card. So let's turn that back on again and see what we get. Okay, so that's cool. I'm liking that. And then maybe move it over here. I might add another light in the scene to fill some areas. So I'm just pulling this bounce card a little bit because this is too much for me. I want to keep that contrast still. So I'm just pulling it away. so that we just keep some contrast into the shot. Pull it back some now. I just want some information in that area. All right, I like that. And then this area right here is really, really dark. So I'm going to scrub through, see what this looks like real quick. Another thing I'm noticing that the colors are flickering. I know I fixed that when I did some R&D. I'm trying to remember what I did, but we'll see if I can remember that part. Before still looks really cool. Okay. All right, so I'm going to add another light. So I'm just going to go here, Shift D, and then now we got a second light. And I just want to use this light as a fill light. So I'm going to make it really big and soft. And then I'm going to bring it down here. And it's just the purpose of this light is just to add some fill. Okay, so I'm going to turn this to 0. We got complete black. Let's go 32. And it's filling that area just like that. 64. Okay, so let's go with that. Got that set. And then I'm going to go over here. Color management. See if we can add more contrast, high contrast maybe. And then turn that off. I'm going to use a LUT. So I'm going to use a LUT. I'm going to press N. And I'm going to go down here to final LUT. And I'm going to enable it. So it's enabled in the compositor. And then I got one LUT that I use all the time. That's Kim Amland, if I remember right. Let's see, Kim Amland. Yeah, that's the name. I've had these LUTs for a while. All right. So it just adds more contrast, right? Things are brighter. Things that have higher contrast. It's a look I like. And I'm going to go here to my compositor. Let's take a look at that real quick. And I might add some, yeah, we'll do it. I'm going to add some, no, I'm going to leave it real clean. But what I was going to do, I'll just show you guys, is lens distortion. So I was just going to hit fit. And then if I do this, I can add dispersion to the image. So let's see what it looks like real quick. All right, so I can add some dispersion to the image. And you don't need a lot. I can go like 0.02 just to add a little bit of aberration to the edges of the shot, right? But in the center, it's pretty much sharp. Another thing I could possibly do is add some glare. So I can add glare on top of it too, but most likely I'm going to take it off. I'm going to set this to high and switch this to bloom. Size to 9, and I'm just going to turn the threshold up so it's not so much, so it's not so crazy. If I hold Alt and then click on this, it'll disconnect it. So I just want to see what it looks like. Maybe I'll scrub back, bring that back. Yeah, I'm going to leave it off. And then I want to see what this looks like if I turn that back off. So yeah, I might turn this back off too. I like what I had originally, where I preserve all the detail. So yeah, I'm going to keep that like it is, but I got the LUT set up. The final LUT is a whole compositing node set up in here. All right, so I'm going to go back. I like the way this is looking. I'm going to change it to a square shot just to see what I would get to. Zoom in. So let's see what the square shot gets us. Let's make it bigger. I'm liking this better. Maybe I can shift my camera back a little bit too now that we got a square shot. Pull this back. Something like that. That's decent. Maybe shift this over now so we can get that little hump right there. And then I'm looking at the detail. Probably want to pull back on the bump a little bit more too. It's probably a little bit too harsh still. So the reason it's not showing up is because this is the collection instance. So if you ever run into this problem with this method that I'm doing, it's because you're selecting the collection instance. So you always want to go back to the source. So that's why we created that. So I can click on the source and then now I got my material back. It should have stayed there because I did pin it, but maybe I did something wrong, but that's okay. So, all right, so let's take a look at our material. I think this bump is a little bit too crazy. I'm going to turn it off. Yeah, so the bump is giving me these faceted edges too. I don't know if you guys can see that, but there's some facetedness that's happening and I don't want that. Okay, so I need to fix that. So I want to say I'm going to turn the strength down to 0.5. And as you can see, it's starting to disappear now. Or it's starting to smooth out. I'm going to go 0.25. Maybe that's too much. 0.35. Okay. Now it's smoothed out. That's what I want. Okay. So the fact that we had such a harsh bump map, it was having our light react differently also. Maybe I'll turn up this to 0.42. Yeah, that's much better. Okay, so now we got something going. One thing I need to solve is this issue of flickering, because in the animation, in the final one, I did not have the flickering. So we need to figure this out also. All right, so I got to do some troubleshooting to figure out why I'm getting that. Okay. So I don't want that happening. So let's see what we can do. So I'm going to go through, play with these nodes again. All right. Pointless, pointiness. That's nothing. Back facing. Got parametric. Incoming. If I remember right, because the last time I tried it, when I was playing with it, trying to solve that issue, it just worked when I replugged it back in. I don't know why that would be, but when I plugged it back in at some point, it just worked. So it might be it might be a bug in the software. I'm gonna try a different node to see if we can randomize it though. I don't think we can. So right now we got the geometry. I'm gonna try point maybe random. Plug that in. That's not gonna work. And that's not working. We got that. Tried that. Add output input. So we got ambient occlusion attribute, bevel, camera data, color attribute. No, we don't want that. Input. We did color for now. Geometry. We already got that. Layer weight, light path, object info, particle info, tangent, texture coordinate, UV map, value, volume info. I'm sure this ain't it, but we'll try it anyway. Camera, window, reflection, UV, okay, normal. Okay, so we don't want this, generate it. All right, let's try something else. Input, attribute. Nope, that's an attribute. That's not the one I run. Volume info, point info. We already did that, I believe. Didn't get anything from that one. Random again. If I scrub through it, it's still flickering. Okay. So it's good for a still. It's not good for something else. I'm finding. Wish I could figure this out, but I can't figure it out. But anyway, this is as far as I got. I'm just gonna create the still. We'll stick with the still for now. Hopefully I can figure this out some point. I'll make a new video once I figure out how to sustain the randomization to the geometry that it starts off with. Yeah, so it seems like it's working here, but at some point it just changes too. But overall, I really like how this came out. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And then I'll make some more on these simulations. So again, just to review, we use geometry nodes so that we could preserve the whole stack that we created. So if I go to my modifier stack, when I did this video a long time ago doing this simulation, I collapsed the grid, and I was using a array modifier. And the problem when you use a grid with the default option here in this menu, when you create a mesh and then you go grid, you lose those attributes after you're done creating it. And I like to be able to go back all the way back and change dimensions of things because I like to stay very parametric with what I'm creating in these simulations, animations, or whatever you want to call it, so that I can always go back and make changes and recache it, resimulate it, whatever, all the way down to the endpoint, which is this last node, right? And then I can make something new from it. So like if I wanted to do like a square shape, I can always go back and make a square shape because I can go back and access my geometry nodes. So that's the reason. I try to avoid collapsing things, but if I have to, I will. But outside of that, I won't. So again, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I got more coming out in this series of just playing with cloth and stuff. And I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.